If you're looking at real estate agents right now, a lot of them are thinking the sky is falling. You look at the media right now, they're saying big changes are happening. In reality, really, it hasn't been that big of a change that's going on. However, since the media has really pushed that things are changing and kind of telling stuff that's not true, big things actually may be occurring. I'll explain. So, first of all, what came down and what is new as of August 17th? Well, it's a few things. First of all, what has happened now is in the MLS, the multiple list services, that basically that's where real estate agents put their listings to go on the market, and then places like Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, and pretty much every website out there grabs their information from the MLS and puts it on their own site. Okay, so it used to be in private comments that agents like myself could see how much compensation, or it used to be the word commission they would use, now they want to use compensation, but how much commission would be paid to a buyer's agent if we were bringing a buyer in to purchase the home. So now the change is that on the MLS, we are not allowed to put our compensation on there anymore. So if you go to a home, you take a look at it, there will be no compensation that you can see. Now, that doesn't mean that compensation has gone away. The next thing that has changed, and this is big for buyers out there, this is a huge thing. The next thing that's changed is you are not allowed to go see any home unless you have a buyer brokerage agreement with a buyer's agent. What does that mean? Well, you actually can go see a home if it's like an open house and the listing agent's there. That's not a problem. But if you just say, hey, I got a friend and I want to go take a quick look at this house, you actually have to go through the process of signing a contract before you can see that home. So how does that affect you? Well, there's going to be just some delay in that because they need to go over the contract with you. You need to sign it. So there's no like quick, hey, show me this home in an hour if you don't already have a buyer brokerage agreement signed. Next thing is, since compensation isn't listed anymore on the MLS, we as agents have to get in contact with the listing agent to find out what that compensation, if any, will be. Now, how does that affect you as a buyer? Well, if you want to go see 5-10 homes in a day, that means the agent has to get in touch with all of those other listing agents to see how much the compensation is going to be. And how that affects you is, it's always been this way on contracts, at least here in Georgia, and specifically in the metro Atlanta area. It's always been on these contracts that on the contract as a buyer's agent, and I've worked with lots and lots of buyers, it states on there that if the seller is not going to pay me a fee for bringing a buyer in, that the buyer is responsible for covering that. Now, there is no standard in real estate. I've set my fee at 3%. And I've been doing this for 11 years, and 3% is what I've gotten one way or the other. Sometimes we have to ask the seller to pay closing costs, and then that closing cost covers the commission from the buyer's side. With all that said, nothing really has changed in that, but they've put a big emphasis now in the media trying to state that commissions were never negotiable before. If you were trying to sell a home, that you had to pay a buyer's agent something and it had to be a certain percentage. Again, different states work differently. However, in Georgia, that's never been the case. I've always explained to clients that if you're going to pay a buyer's agent coming in to purchase your home, that you can offer anything or nothing if you wanted to. Question is why would you want to pay a buyer's agent to come in to purchase your home? I mean, you're paying them for the buyer to come in, and why wouldn't the buyer's agent pay that? Well, there's a few reasons for it, but it's not like this is unusual when selling something. We see it all the time. Let's say there was something you wanted to buy that was $10, and then all of a sudden you see that it's now $6. Okay, well, that's a 4%, 40% actually drop off in the price of that item. They're enticing you to purchase that item. Well, it's the same thing in real estate, kind of giving a percent to pay to the agent of the buyer is kind of just the same thing, giving them a discount to purchase your home. Now, that doesn't mean as a seller you have to give them anything, and it doesn't mean as a buyer that you have to agree to pay an agent. What we are going to see is going to vary drastically, but the hard thing for a buyer out there is they've got a down payment to pay, they've got closing costs to pay on the purchase of a home, and now it might be that you're adding more and more of the compensation for their agent on the buyer's side of things. That just makes it harder and harder for a buyer to be able to purchase a home, especially right now with interest rates that have gone up and the prices of home, which is really skyrocketed. That just makes it really difficult, and the timing of this maybe couldn't be worse. But it is what it is. So how do you get around this, and what are we going to see? Well, here's one thing we're going to see. On the documents that you're signing on a listing, if you're selling your home, or for a buyer's agent, if you're purchasing a home, is a lot more detail about how compensation works, right? If as a buyer, you agree to pay your buyer's agent, say 2.5%, and the listing and the seller are already agreeing to pay the buyer that's brought in 2%, then the buyer really doesn't have to pay anything. It's a wash because they're bringing in the 2.5%, so the buyer doesn't have to pay it anymore. However, let's say that as a buyer, you agree to pay your agent 3%, and the listing is only agreeing to pay 2% to your agent. Well, you can subtract that out, but now you're still going to owe your agent that difference, which is 1%. And there's a lot of buyers out there right now that could be freaking out of this. And what unfortunately may start happening is we see more buyers going to the market unrepresented, or maybe going with someone that's throwing a huge discount at them to purchase a home. And that's where we can come into the issues. So let's talk more about that. One thing I want to emphasize on this video is the importance now more than ever of not just having a good agent, but a great agent. I'm going to give some examples on both the listing side and the buyer side of how a great agent can make a difference for you. And even though you may be paying them more than you think you should, I'm going to show you how they can save you thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars, and actually be worth every single penny you're paying them and more. So let's look at this first scenario. As an agent, a few years ago, I was helping a buyer out. And yes, I do consider myself a great agent. I've been doing this for a while, and I saved my clients thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, lots of times, and know the scenarios that I've gone through and seen good, not so good agents work, seen me work, and know the difference in the savings. Scenario was this. Went to a home, $435,000 was the list price of this home. This home had been on the market, went under contract, but fell through, came back on the market. Jumped on it when it came back on the market, went and took my buyers. They loved it, wanted to make an offer. They were even talking about a full price offer. However, when talking with the agent, I found out that their seller, right, had already purchased the home, and they were already out of the state, and they were desperate to get this back under contract. They needed to close quickly. Fortunately, as a great agent, I went ahead and talked to my buyers about going through the pre-approval and all of underwriting as buyers to be able to make offers that could close quickly with financing and appraisal contingencies, very limited. And if the due diligence was long enough, actually, we could put it down as no financing and appraisal contingencies. The listing agent loved that. I also knew in looking at things that I thought we could bring them down. So we approached them with the $425 offer, so $10,000 less. At the time, we even knew that a few other agents were coming in, and at least one, if not two, were talking about making an offer. Talking with the agent back and forth, convinced them, let's get this done, get under contract. Their sellers were happy of how quickly we could close, and got under contract for $10,000 less than the list price. With all that said, after inspection, we got an additional $2,000 off of closing costs. So total savings of $12,000 for my buyer. That's 2.83% of the sales price of the home. Why is that important? Well, my compensation's 3%. That comes out to be $12,750. We're talking about if I save them $12,000, and if they were paying my full 3% commission, really, they were paying me $12,750. That's only a $750 net from the normal agent out there or the lesser agent that would have got this house for $435,000. But in this situation, the listing agent was paying me 3%. But let's talk about what if that was happening now, right now. I've seen a number of listings and talking to agents that are giving 3%, but there's a number that are only giving like 2 and 2.5% for me as a buyer's agent. So let's play this out. Let's say that this listing was only offering me 2%. That leaves my buyer with 1%, which is $4,250. Well, that net, if you take the purchase price of the home and you took how much they were paying me in compensation, would be $429,250. Let's compare that to the discount agent out there that maybe said, hey, buyer, I'll just help you purchase the home for 2%. Okay, listing covers that 2%, but they get the house for $435,000. And let's be generous and say that the agent's able to get them an extra $1,000 off the house. So $434,000. Well, let's compare that to the great agent that got them $429,250. That's a savings of $4,750. And that doesn't even add in the $2,000 that it got them off in closing cost. So yeah, the okay agent got $1,000, got $2,000. There's another $1,000 difference. Now we're talking about $5,750 in savings. What's the moral of this story? Well, yes, they agreed to pay 3%, wound up having to pay 1%. They may only have to pay the okay agent maybe nothing, but in the end, paying the great agent more actually saved them money. And that is the key to this. You want a great agent out there right now. If you are going to pay someone 3%, you want to make sure you're giving every penny out of that. And it could be, as a buyer, may not be that they're saving you money in terms of the sales price of a home. There might be 7 offers on a home, and you want to make sure you get that home. You want a great agent out there working for you. You might have to pay a little more for the home because there's multiple offers, but getting you the best price possible, but also communicating with that agent to make sure that you're the offer that wins. If this is the house you want, how much is that worth to you as a buyer to get that home you've always dreamed of? Is it worth paying a little extra? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but you're going to have to make that decision. Just wanted to break that first scenario down. Let's go to scenario 2, and that's for those that are looking to sell a house out there. All right, recently I had a listing that was up for $450,000. They agreed to pay me as a listing agent my compensation of 3%. Home went on the under contract, fell back through, nothing that anybody could do, was on the buyer's side, put it back on the market. Unfortunately, because of timing and some different things out there not under control, the house just sat for a while, okay? 2-3 weeks went by, not getting any offers. What do we do now? I even know some great agents out there and some good agents, because I go to the classes and I talk with them, that work this scenario out as this. If you have 10 showings or 2 weeks, you don't get offers, you drop the price, right? I know agents that put this in their contract when they actually sign a listing, saying if the home does not go under contract by X date, you agree to drop the price X amount of dollars. If it doesn't go under contract 2 or 3 more weeks later, you agree to drop it again and again and again until it sells. Now, how does this scenario work out with this? So getting advice saying, hey, home needs to be dropped in price. The seller actually brought up, hey, do we need to drop in price? Was actually willing to do so. However, during this whole time as the showings went on, I kept contacting the agents that were showing the home, and I kept up with the market. 2 things were happening. One is agent after agent were saying, great home, price seems right. However, this just isn't the home for our buyer. Maybe the layout wasn't right. And that actually happened a few times because it wasn't as open as some people wanted. There's a number of times where it was between this house that I had listed in another home, and the buyers wound up offering on the other home, got under contract there. So it just kept happening over and over again. Also, some seasonality came into play where I knew the market would slow down based on the timing of this home. Other agents saying to drop the price, and we're at $450,000. So I know what they would want to drop to. Other agents would at least want to drop it $15,000, if not more. So they're talking about dropping it between $425,000 to $435,000. My sellers were willing to drop it. However, I told them, let's stick with it. I think we can get this done. I think our price is right. Let's keep going and grinding at it. We did that. A few weeks later, under contract. And under contract for close to what we were listed for. In the end, we ended up netting $443,500. What is that all? How does that all break down? I kept with it. I stuck with it. I was a great agent for them and working on their behalf. Sure, if we would have dropped it for 435, could have sold maybe a week or two sooner. However, we're talking about an $8,500 difference if we sold at the 435 mark versus our 443.5. That is a difference of 1.92% of the sales price. Remember, they're paying me 3%. So really, in that savings of what a vast majority of agents would have done out there, that difference between sales price that I got them, sales price that they would have got them, that savings was tremendous. So if we look at this, again, they agreed to pay me 3%, but after saving them the 1.92%, really they're looking to pay me 1.18%. So that's just a total compensation for me of $5,233. That's a pretty good deal, but let's look at maybe the agent that they said, okay, I'll discount it. Maybe not as good of an agent. Maybe they're okay agent. Again, some really good agents, some great agents were telling me to drop this, okay? But let's just say they were willing to pay 2%, take 2% off that house. Well, they would have sold at $435,000, which would cost $8,700 in compensation to them. So what's the savings? Well, based on how much I was able to net them, right? Yeah, they were paying me a little bit more in compensation, but really, being a great agent, they ended up saving $3,467 because they decided to go with a great agent and were willing to pay that 3% versus a discounted agent out there. All right, I'm going to talk to you about how to find a great agent in just a second, what to look for. Before I started this video with saying, hey, you got to be careful. Buyers out there might be paying $10,000 or more now to purchase a home. Where did I come up with that at? Well, let's look at it this way. Let's say you're getting an agent, you agree to pay 3% to them in compensation for their services to you. All right, you do that. Again, I've told you we're seeing some sellers selling their homes and only willing to pay 2% compensation. All right, we're going to take the median sales prices around $450,000 right now in Atlanta. So let's take that scenario. You purchase a $450,000 home and you are going to pay your agent 3%, seller's willing to pay 2%, so the net of that, you're just paying your agent 1%. That's $4,500. If you already have that available, you can just pay that as part of your closing costs. It's all good. But a lot of people don't. So what you may be doing is rolling it into the loan. You actually may say, hey, Mr. Seller, I'll pay you an extra $4,500, that 1% extra, and you then in return pay my agent an extra 3%. So you just roll it into the loan. So instead of selling for $450,000, you're going to sell for $454,500. And that's fine. That's doable. You do that. And I think that's going to start happening some, if not a lot. All right. So you do that. It rolls into your loan. Well, guess what? But if you get a 30-year loan over the life of 30 years, that extra $4,500 is going to cost you $10,239. That's just a scenario with the seller's willing to pay 2% and you've agreed to pay 3%. So I can see buyers now being on the hook, again, over the life of the loan for $10,000 plus. That's a lot of money. So you really need a great agent that's going to negotiate on your behalf. And I'll go back to the scenario. Just because an agent's charging 3, 2, or 1% or whatever they're charging doesn't mean they're great. So what do you need to do to make sure you find a great agent, and what's the difference? Let's go through that. In my experience of doing this 11 plus years, and again, this is my own opinion. There's no stats out here. This is just me generally working with different agents along the way, having lots of conversations, meeting them, talking with them about how they run their business. Again, my opinion, I would say there's probably only about 20 to 30% of agents out there that I would say are good agents that do the job properly. Okay, those are good agents. If you want a great agent, I would say that drops almost down to 3%. Maybe less, maybe a little more, but I would say only about 3% of agents I would classify as great agents out there. Here's some of the differences. So I'm going to talk about good agents versus great agents, and the not so good agents aren't doing any of this or some of these items. So let's talk about that. First of all, good agent understands contracts, okay? They understand the documents you're putting in front of them. They know how to use them. A great agent just doesn't understand them, but use them to the best of their ability. They use them well and put them into practice and understand them so well that they can help you get a contract through or get an offer in, maybe as a buyer, that in competing offers may not have been accepted. So they really understand their contracts, know how to use them, know the intricacies of them. So again, good agent, they understand them, they know what the information is. A great agent knows how to use them well and take advantage of what's in the contract. Number 2, and I think is the most important thing, communication. Gee whiz, I can't tell you how many agents out there are absolutely terrible at communicating. I can't tell you how many listings I've gone to where I've shown a buyer a home, wasn't the home we were looking for, kept going on, and I never got contacted by the listing agent. The listing agent never reached out to me and said, hey, did your buyer like the home? Give us some feedback. What do you think? What do you think about price? All those things. They're not getting the information. I don't know whether it's they're too busy. I don't know what it is. That is terrible. So communication on that, in that regard. Communication, just talking with them. As a buyer's agent, if I'm representing a buyer, I'm going to be contacting the agent, letting them know an offer's coming in, asking if they already have offers in, asking what's important for their seller, looking, seeing how long everything's been on the market. If it's fallen off the market, I'm going to call and ask, hey, you were under contract, it's not under contract anymore. Tell me more about this. What happened? Was there an inspection done? If there was, there's a lot of agents that don't know that if inspection was already done in a home and that home fell off the market, one of two things has to happen. Either that seller has to update their seller's disclosure with everything that was found in the inspection, or they need to give that inspection to the buyers coming in. There's so many people that don't know this information, and lots of others that goes along with real estate. So important to communicate, finding all these things out. Good agents communicate. However, you can ask questions and find out what's going on. That's a good agent. A great agent knows what to say and what not to say. A great agent knows the questions to ask. And again, if I'm selling a home and someone wants to know about my sellers and they've moved out of state, the buyers coming in don't need to know that. That's not relative to anything. If they ask me what the situation is, I will just tell them my clients are looking to sell their home. They ask why. I tell them I'm not at liberty to say anything. All you need to know is they're selling. Here's the price. Would you like to make an offer on it or not? Okay. Information is so important in this business, and a great agent knows what to do with that information. Also in communication. For me, and I find out a lot in communication, not only of what's said and not said, but how they say it. I've played a lot of poker in my days, and you might think, what does that got to do with real estate? Well, it actually has to do a lot with tells and reading people and finding out. I can't tell you how many times coming to situations where I had a feeling based on how they said something or their communication or the way they said it that made me think, oh, this buyer looks like they're going to walk away, or oh, this buyer really wants this house. Like, yeah, they might have done an inspection, but I don't think we have to give them anything and they'll still purchase this home. Or they're selling this house and are we going to ask for too much? No, they really want to sell. I think we can ask for what's on this, what we want to get and get that money. It's nothing that we're doing wrong. It's all about negotiations. And being a great negotiator has to do with communicating and finding out information. Next, a good agent has a decent idea of home values. They can run a comparative property analysis and kind of get a decent idea of what home values are. However, a great agent is a student of the game. They know homes inside out, and they know the market, and they know the value of homes, and they know what's going on. They know when the market's going up and going down. They know seasonality. They know around the time I'm filming this video in August, we always see it every year, except for maybe the COVID year, which was crazy. We always see this kind of stagnation in the market when schools start back up. So you get to the end of July, all through August till about the beginning of September, we always see a slowdown. People start freaking out about, oh, my home's not selling, homes are on the market, they're staying longer, blah, 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 blah. The market's crashing, yada, 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 all those kind of things. However, if you've done this long enough, you know that happens. You know you might have to push through it more to get the value you want and be more patient this time of year. So you need to be a student of the game and know values really well if you want to be a great agent. A good agent has a decent understanding of inspections, how they work, when they get it back, kind of knows some of the things that are going on with it. A great agent, though, not only knows the inside and outs of inspections. They don't have to be an expert. They don't have to know all about plumbing or electricity or anything like that, but they know the important things that pop up. And if they don't, they know the people to call to find out about it. And maybe they don't, but they know all the people to call. That's the important thing. They talk with inspectors. They talk with plumbers, electricians, contractors. They get them out to the house to get quotes. These are the things that great agents do to make sure that during the due diligence period, you know everything you need to know before you purchase a home when it comes to some of the things found in inspections. And lastly, a good agent looks out for their clients. Right? I can't tell you how many seem to be going after a paycheck more than looking at their clients to make sure they get the closing. But a good agent looks out for their clients, doing their best to get everything done for their clients in the client's best interest. However, a great agent doesn't just look out for their clients, but they protect their clients to the best of their ability because, again, they have the experts to fill in gaps of knowledge when it comes to, again, stuff found in inspection, when it comes to connecting them with insurance agents that may save them money, when it comes to just knowing areas so well of what is going to be happening in the future, knowing that city centers are about to be built, or that businesses are coming in, or businesses are going out, or roads are expanding. All right. They, again, know their business and know it well. And that's the difference between good and great. Even though the media wants you to think that the sky is falling and there's lots of misinformation out there, not just from media, but even from real estate agents, just know it is going to be okay. Yes, this is going to be a transition period. We're kind of trying to figure it out as we go along, but you get a great agent and they can help you make it through what we're going through right now. With all that said, if you have a question, a comment, or concern, you can drop a comment below. My contact information is below. You can email, text me, give me a call. I'd love to talk with you and help you out. And if you're looking for a great agent, well, if you're looking to buy Metro Atlanta, you can give me a call, shoot me a text, send me an email. Thanks for watching, dropping videos on a weekly basis. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.